Hello there, only one Kenobi here, only one. I've just been filming an opening video of loads of stuff I've received recently. This is Saturday, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day that I'm filming this. And I stopped myself opening anymore because I wanted to make it a separate video. When I opened this was from Comics and Cocktails. Here was the packaging. Had a little bit of a ding there, but it doesn't matter because it was obviously double boxed, so that's all good, there's no problem. But yeah, I just sort of stopped myself because I wanted to make this a separate video, as I've just said. But I actually thought this was the speeder bike from Return of the Jedi, which I'm still waiting for that from somebody. I think that's also Comics and Cocktails. So there's loads of stuff arriving. I actually also just opened this, so stay tuned for that. I will be reviewing that soon. I was going to do an episode of Only One Fans, but now all this stuff has arrived, including something from my P.O. box. I don't think I'm going to have time, so I'll see how we go. But for now, let me continue opening this. This is the Return of the Jedi Retro Collection. Been waiting for this for a while. This is going to be awesome. I do have a carded room through there if you haven't seen my channel, and I have rows of characters, including a really strong row of variants of the Gamorrean Guard, or the Gamorrean Guard as I sometimes call him. And this Han here is one that's going to enter the row. I've got loads of variants of Han Endor basically, so that's good. But the good thing about these is they don't cost a fortune and they don't yellow and all that. I've sold a lot of my vintage 80s because a lot of them, they're going to get worse over time. They're going to get yellower and worse and bloody blah, and so I just sold them. So let's get the rest of them open, man. Here's another one. Lando Calrissian. This is awesome. Again, looking forward to putting that on my wall next to my vintage collection, Lando. I don't have a vintage 80s one, never did. Not even in the 80s did I have a Lando. That does not look very good though. The plastic they've used for that. Now I do have inside my barge, if you look over left, I've got in the cockpit of my barge a Weequay with an actual legit vintage 80s staff. So we'll have a look at that one. Just cutting in there, because I forgot to film this. There's the new stuff. It's one of those plastics that look really clear, almost slightly translucent, like sugary, like kind of candy would look. And then there's this stuff. I think this is not a repro. I don't know, but I can put an image of an actual legit one. And it looks like it's more of a solid grey plastic. Interesting. So there's definitely a different plastic being used for that weapon there. Definitely. Who's next? Oh yeah, look at that. The Biker Scout. Wow. Oh, he doesn't look like I remember him looking. Maybe that's because I've been spending the last 3 decades looking at better sculpts, like the modern figures. But I did have a Biker Scout back in the day. I'll have to look at my reference guide. Yeah, I'm actually in the Red 5 books now, and here are a couple of variants of stuff there. Yeah, I've got to say, these do not look like the plastic that they've used in the retro figure. That one's slightly lighter though. But yeah, well, things change. They use different plastics. You can see that with the face of some of these new retro figures, but it's just interesting to make that comparison. Just something that hit me from what I knew. Just so you know, this is the Red 5 Designs. Excellent. This is the Bible, the definitive Bible of Kenner action figure toys. Let's see what else we can find. This is it here. Maybe I got it wrong yesterday. I'm filming this the day after. There's a Hong Kong head there. Hong Kong version 2, Taiwan, Mexico. You can see a little difference in these variants here, but I can't really get my head around. That one looks like a little bit of everything. Specifically maybe more, I don't know, Mexico maybe? Hard to tell. No, it'd be more like Taiwan. See the mouth? Just looking at the mouth there. Yeah, I don't know what it is now. I'm changing my mind. It's just that when I opened it yesterday, it just didn't hit me. I wasn't getting that 80s vibe. And that's probably partly, as I say, due to the fact that we've had some really good modern sculpts recently. And when you see the old style, it just has aged. But that does look like a good approximation of what you got back then. That was just my thoughts when I opened it. But anyway, back to the video. And then here we have Luke. This is my first look at these figures, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, I stopped myself opening the rest. This is good, man. This is a good one. That is not how I remember him looking, though. Have they tweaked that? I think they have, man. I think they've... That's... Yeah. Or something. I think they've used a different plastic because he was somebody who had a nose rub problem. Him and like the likes of General Veers in the 1980s, their faces were painted flesh pink, you know? And if you scuffed the nose, you'd see the black plastic or whatever behind them. But in this case, I think they've used the flesh plastic and they probably painted his hair. I don't know. But that's good, that. Can't wait to see him slotting in my wall. So it's nice to get another variant anyway on the wall for Luke. Let's have a look here. Aha. Princess Leia Organa. That's nice, man, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I had these figures as a kid in the 80s, and she looks different to what I remember. In fact, let me have another look at Han, because I had a Han. This is the only Han Solo kid I had in the 1980s. That's slightly more reminiscent from what I remember. Never had him. Had him. Had him. Had her. I was born in 81. Oh, I had the Emperor. And that's not bad. That looks like I remember. I had the Emperor. I was born in 81, so I'm a child of the tail end of what existed back then. People like the blacked out Ewoks are older than me, and they would have been in it from the very, very beginning of Star Wars. So they would have been about 10 or 11 probably, were they, when Star Wars first came out, I guess. I don't know. So they would have seen the whole line, whereas I was very young. In 1985, probably I was only 4 years old, and I would have got the tail end of all of this. So it's mostly Return of the Jedi stuff I remember. But there you are, there's the whole wave. I'm going to film it a bit more in a minute. Let's get it on a wide angle there. It's nice to be here. Here we are in the 40th anniversary, and we've had certain items, I suppose. It's nice to get this wave, you know. I've kept banging on about variants. All of these will fit nicely next to another figure I've got in my carded room, man. Grow that variant wall, man. I love it. It's nice to see. I mean, I know these are modern and some people will not agree with this. They'll want the classic 80s. And as I say, I've sold off a lot of my stuff. I went through a honeymoon period in 2021, getting loads of stuff from the 80s, but man, is it expensive, you know what I mean? And I needed the money, so I sold all that first. Plus, you know, that stuff ages. And I got a couple of nice pieces that had very clear bubbles, but, you know, I could see one of them was starting to go yellow. So I thought, you know what, man? I'm selling it before it loses any kind of value, you know what I mean? There's not much to talk about on the back, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm going to leave it there by just showing you the backs of these two here. There's absolutely nothing on the back. They are terrible, aren't they? They could have made something of them. Absolutely terrible. But the figures themselves and the concept are great. The card backs are awful. They're really flimsy. I mean, the Han Solo one is the first one I took out. That one's warped. Let me just show you the Han one. This is probably no fault of Comics and Cocktails. This is just the situation with these card backs. Let me go lower. I'll just show you the warp on this. Yeah, I mean, I've got some in my loft upstairs. Up in the roof, sorry. And a lot of them are warping. I've got a few spare Boba Fett's. They've completely bent with the temperature up there, you know what I mean? I mean, some people will say don't put figures up in a loft, but some of my harder stock figures are fine. It's just these things, these curl, man. Let's go in close and have a look at them. And then again, oh God, the sticker is, as ever, huge, man. You could do with making those stickers smaller. They did for the Boba Fett's and the prototype line, you know, the prototype line, the Skittle figures. And I've got a video on stickers if you want to check that out. Talking about the different variety of stickers they've got in the modern line and the sizes of them. But these are the worst type of stickers, I think. I quite like the 40th anniversary thing. This I'm getting tired of. I think every one has got a different variant. No, these two are similar. It's got that marking, same there. These two are different. But I still think there's nonsense doing that. I actually went through a period of thinking I quite liked it, because it gave it a kind of a rustic look, as it's supposed to. But overall, why did they bother? They should have just given you the traditional car packs. But it's still quite magic seeing these again coming out. It's great. This will pull in a lot of collectors. And then when they find this stuff, they will start to experiment and look into the 3 3/4 inch scale. And that should in itself increase the interest of people into TVC potentially, especially when they discover that you can get this type of classic car back in that line as well. But the figure inside is, as I say, screen accurate, like the Gamorrean guard you saw before. Here's the Biker Scout. Again, I'm not happy with that face. I don't remember him looking like that. Maybe as a kid, I was happy with it. And then, as I say, I've got loads of really good looking ones up there. Sorry it's so far away. They are really good. They look just like they do in the film. And this guy is sort of aged in that respect. Still good to see that though, isn't it? Look at that, Biker Scout. AKA Scout Trooper. Next up, Lando Calrissian Skiff Guard. This is the only figure out of the wave I never had as a kid. The only Lando figure I had was Bespin Lando. I had mates who had this figure of Lando though. When you go over to somebody's house, you see the figures that you don't have and you need. Anyway, and then finally Han, except I'm going to move these over here, ladies and gentlemen, because the lighting has meant that so it's a backlit, whatever. Looks quite milky, the shot. That's great, isn't it? Classic. His hair looks bigger though. His hair looks bigger. The texture of that, I don't know, man. I'm having to hark back to my memory of nearly 40 years ago. And then here's him. Surprise, surprise, it's Lando in disguise. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say and do about that. I just thought I'd give you a bit of a reaction and a bit of waffle. Ay, 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 ay. Just knocked them all down. Let's just lie them flat. In fact, actually, let's see which ones are warped. It was only really Han. He's lying flat. He's Luke's the best one. The Emperor's fine. That's nice and flat. And then she's curly. Doesn't matter because they're all going into star cases soon. So that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know if you've got this wave, these figures yet or not. And I will leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to do this weekend. Loads of figures to review. And I shall get on with it. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only one. Out.